In the 1980s, the Soviet Navy constructed a vessel that ultimately failed to meet expectations and came to symbolize the decline of the regime. When the USSR collapsed and Ukraine became independent, the new nation chose to retain the ship. Admiral Kuznetsov was technically not an aircraft carrier, but rather a heavy aircraft carrying cruiser. From the outset, it was designed to support missile-equipped submarines and aircraft, as well as surface ships. Its development faced significant obstacles due to the Soviet Union's disintegration, and it had to sail for long distances despite being unfinished. The crumbling Soviet government lacked the resources to maintain the ship properly, but was unwilling to relinquish what it viewed as a prized asset, secretly planning to recover it from Ukraine. Though it bore similarities to a carrier, the vessel could not be classified as one under Russian standards. It was labeled a heavy aircraft cruiser. The Soviet Navy recognized its deficiency in this area as a strategic weakness. By the 1960s, it aimed to project influence globally, which led to several failed projects. In 1973, the military considered a nuclear-powered carrier weighing 85,000 tons and capable of carrying 60 to 70 aircraft. Ultimately, they pursued less ambitious alternatives. One was Project 1143.5, which envisioned a nuclear-powered ship with upgraded Su-27K MiS and Yak-44 AUASW fixed-wing aircraft. Contrary to Western theories, the ship used conventional propulsion with oil-fired boilers. Although its appearance somewhat resembled American carriers, it was built to serve in coordination with missile submarines in the Arctic. Construction began in 1983, with a launch in 1985, initially named Riga, then Leonid Brezhnev, then Tbilisi. The ship was eventually named Admiral Kuznetsov. By 1989, it was 71% complete and ready for aircraft trials. However, it was never referred to as an aircraft carrier. Its official classification allowed it to pass through the Turkish Straits into the Mediterranean. A crucial point, since it was built in Ukraine and would otherwise have been confined to the Black Sea. In the fall of 1991, Ukraine declared independence, straining relations with Russia and creating disputes over the Black Sea Fleet, where many officers remained loyal to Moscow. After a failed coup attempt in August and Ukraine's declaration of sovereignty, President Leonid Kravchuk sent a telegram to the ship's commander, Viktor Urigin, asserting that Admiral Kuznetsov now belonged to Ukraine. The ship was to remain in Sevastopol until its future was determined. However, Russia was determined to retrieve it. Commander Urigin disagreed with the idea that the ship should stay in Ukraine, believing Ukraine was not yet fully constituted as an independent state, since no referendum had taken place. Deputy Northern Fleet Commander Yuri Ustimenko arrived from the Arctic to act before Ukraine could take control. On December 1st, the same day Ukraine held independence elections, the Northern Fleet ordered the vessel to leave the Black Sea immediately. Admiral Kuznetsov departed for Murmansk, with only a third of its crew on board while the rest remained behind. The ship was still incomplete and lacked access to proper facilities at its destination. Yet it continued on, and eventually became the flagship of the Russian Navy. Admiral Kuznetsov's design served a different mission than American carriers. These heavy aircraft-carrying cruisers were built to defend strategic missile submarines, surface vessels, and naval aircraft, and to counter enemy anti-submarine warfare aircraft. As a result, the ship could engage targets above, on, and beneath the sea. Its flight deck spans 14,700 square meters, with takeoffs aided by a 12-degree ski jump rather than steam catapults. This absence of catapults means that aircraft cannot be launched with full combat loads, indicating a focus on air superiority rather than strike capability. Aircraft engage afterburners and accelerate up the ski jump, launching at a steeper angle and higher elevation than typical carriers. While this method is easier on pilots, the aircraft must remain stable at relatively low takeoff speeds between 120 and 140 km per hour. Asterisk, the deck is also equipped with arresting wires, and to starboard elevators for moving aircraft from the hangar. Though originally intended to operate supersonic STOVL fighters like the Su-27K and the heavier Yak-43, only the Su-33, MiG-29K, and Su-25UTH have consistently been deployed at sea. The Su-25 Youth was primarily used as an unarmed trainer. The cruiser does not carry any airborne early warning aircraft, as that role is fulfilled by COF-31 helicopters. It also lacks dedicated electronic warfare and defense suppression aircraft, which are commonly found on U.S. carriers. Despite these limitations, Admiral Kuznetsov is capable of performing air superiority, fleet defense, and air support missions. It can also provide direct fire support for amphibious assaults, carry out reconnaissance, and deploy naval mines. Interestingly, the ship is armed with 12 long-range surface-to-surface P-700 Granite cruise missiles, reinforcing its designation as more than just an aircraft platform. Asterisk, the ship received its air wing in 1993 and conducted its first Mediterranean deployment from late 1995 to early 1996, officially becoming the flagship of the Russian Navy. By the end of the decade, it was immobilized in a shipyard for a major overhaul, which concluded in 1998. 2 years later, its next deployment was abruptly cancelled due to the Kursk submarine disaster in 2000, during which the capital ship participated in salvage operations. This incident foreshadowed a service life riddled with mishaps and aircraft accidents. In September 2005, an Su-33 fighter accidentally fell into the Atlantic Ocean. The following year, the cruiser returned to active service after undergoing a modernization to address technical problems. Asterisk, as the 2010s began, the cruiser led a squadron to the Russian naval facility in Tartus. Though the Navy emphasized that the visit should not be interpreted as a reaction to the situation in Syria, it was not until 2016 that the vessel took part in the Syrian campaign, escorted by an ocean-going tugboat to avoid the embarrassment of a possible propulsion failure. At that time, it carried 6 to 8 Su-33 fighters, 4 MiG-29K aircraft, Ka-52K, navalized attack helicopters, Ka-31, RAERW, and Sea helicopters, and Ka-27PS, search and rescue helicopters. Analysts noted that the fleet lacked well-trained pilots, which limited the number of fixed-wing aircraft that could participate effectively. In November, a MiG-29K crashed into the sea after a failed launch. Despite the challenges, the flagship took part in a large-scale operation against Islamic State and al-Nusra forces in Syria, marking the first combat action for the ship. Asterisk, the cruiser also coordinated precision strikes by bombers, but lost another Su-33 in December when the arresting gear failed during landing. As a result, the fixed-wing air wing had to be transferred to a land base to continue operations in the region. Asterisk, Admiral Kuznetsov faces numerous challenges, beginning with its propulsion system. The Russian Navy has had ongoing difficulties in maintaining and operating its only carrier. There are no immediate plans to build a replacement. Since 2018, the ship has been undergoing refurbishment and upgrades aimed at extending its service life, including replacing all of its boilers. The initial goal was to return the vessel to service by 2021, but modernization was extended again in 2022. Later that year, it was announced that the ship would finally leave the dock after repairs. Alexei Rachmaninoff, Director General of the United Shipbuilding Corporation, stated that dock repairs were nearly complete, with only preparations remaining to move the ship to the next stage. However, he also admitted that the repair plan had to be adjusted due to an incident involving the PD-50 dry dock. Reports confirmed that the ship had been moved to a modernized dry dock operated by JSC Ship Repair Center, Exvestoshka, asterisk the director. General later confirmed that repairs were expected to be finished in 2024. Once the upgrade is complete, the improved heavy aircraft carrying cruiser is anticipated to regain substantial combat capability. The Russian Navy intends to keep the vessel in service for another 10 to 15 years. Asterisk, Thank you for watching our video asterisk. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the Black Vault and check out the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels, where we delve asterisk into more fascinating historical and military stories from across the world also. Please give us a like and hit the bell icon to be notified of our new